Hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa marhaba. Bonjour et bienvenue. Welcome to this interview for the Open Borders Institute. We are a small advocacy with the goal of changing perspectives on cross-border exchanges. This week, we welcome Francesca Romana d'Antuono.
There are a lot of discussions about the Common European Defense, which were held at the General Assembly of Volt Europa in Prague. An article was published by Paul von Bommel from the Volt Party, making the argument that the EU needs to research, develop, and procure weapons together by jointly replenishing EU-built weapon system, with the aim of delivering weapons aimed at defeating despots. So there are discussions about joint European procurement, but there does not seem to be any discussions about joint European arms exports, while the EU hosts the biggest international arms exporting countries, such as France, Italy, Spain, and Germany, who are all four countries are in the top 10. So how do you consider the future of the common European defense in that regard? Would you be in favor of developing joint European arms exports?
Thanks for asking this question. So one disclaimer, this is not my field of expertise. I'm happy to reply, but you probably would have more interesting conversations with people who really work on this. But I do have my perspective that I want to share. So common European defense, as you said, there are discussions about this. There seem to have some movements, then they go to a halt, then in my view, the projects are not ambitious enough, and most of all, they don't reply to the most important question, which is the governance that this common European defense would have. How do we do it without creating another monster? And I want to use this strong word, such as Frontex. Frontex per se is a good thing. We need to have someone who looks at the border, but the governance is so intransparent that they have been able to do unspeakable things with the money and in the name of the EU. So what you don't want to repeat is that same mess where the governance isn't clear, especially with something so delicate as the European defense. There has been an interesting study from, I think, 2017 that was examining the conditionality mechanisms of the EU and found what were its successes, because you cannot say that there are zero successes, but also its flaws. And to me, the main flaw is that the conditionality mechanism is based on one single point, right? So okay, let's take a concrete example. We have Fidesz in Hungary, who is really playing poker with the EU and with its money. What has happened in the course of the years is that the Commission has linked funds, for example, deployment to the country, to one single point. But the system that Orban has built at home is not about one single point. So it's not only about women's rights, LGBTIQ plus rights, it's not only about reproductive rights, it's a system. It's a full system that enables him to stay in power. So if the conditionality is linked to, for example, just one point, it's very easy in a system built like this to refocus. They can abolish that law that is being tackled, whatever, but the system still stays in place and still push for more and more undemocratic government to stay in power. When you think about it, the last Hungarian elections were really an example of what is happening in the country. So the opposition created a huge coalition that went from left parties to center-right parties. Inside it, there were parties that are religious and others that are complete atheists. It was really big because there was a need for really putting some power against what Fidesz is doing. And what happens is that the opposition loses. So everybody's like, oh my God, so Hungarians really want Orban. But when you look at what has happened, the opposition had a total, during the campaign, a total of 6 minutes on TV, a total of 6 minutes. And with these 6 minutes, they were supposed to convince people that live for years in a propaganda machine. So when the EU will decide to change its stance and to become from a bureaucratic body that says, oh, that specific point of your law doesn't work, to a political body that is able to look in the eye of, well, these people, then we might be successful. Because the problem is the system that is built. It's not the single law. It's fun that you mentioned maternity, because of course it goes a bit in that direction. So okay, when you say maternity, the point is that it becomes immediately a topic of woman, which is, I mean, fair enough and important. But the way I look at it is that there is a very deep connection between economic power, or anyway, the way the economy is built, and social equality. So the matter of gender equality, for example, when you look into it in depth and in depth, is really a matter of economic power. When we talk about maternity, the point is that in a lot of countries, it's still something that is just bound to the woman. And of course, fair enough, if the woman is the person who gives birth usually, but it's not the only parent. So the systems that have proven more successful are those where there's not only maternity leave, but there's parental leave. So you can choose who takes the leave, and the system encourages that kind of behavior. I've been researching on this a lot because of what I told you. And really, this is a question of how the economic system is built, but also how the culture receives this kind of changes. So there are systems in which, for example, the parental leave is equal between parents, but the cultures do it so that men don't ask for paternal leave because it's looked down. This is the case. I remember the case, for example, I know that in Korea is like that. I don't remember any EU state, but I know that in Korea is like that. So this is valid for maternity, but it's valid for a variety of topics. It's valid for disability rights. Ultimately, it's about the kind of job that you're going to name, the kind of economic power that you're going to name. It's true for people in the LGBTIQ plus community. It's true for ethnic minorities, for migrants. It's true for all of this. So the thing that passionates me the most is the silver line between social equality, meaning the rights of expressing oneself, of achieving, of having a good life or a free life or whatever you want, and how much this is linked to the economic system. So I find that in the end, this is the real question that matters. If you enable economic power for people, the part of civil rights immediately advances.